5, 4, 3.
It's showtime.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Welcome to the party, pal!
See you at the party, Richter! I didn't kill my wife! I don't care!
Get away from her, you bitch!
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
You did not gonna say that, did you?
What I do have are a very particular set of skills.
The dude abides.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Inconceivable!
Little Dallas multipass.
This is a tasty burger.
Face.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
I'm the bad guy?
And Hulk. Smash.
I can speak with an English accent.
Hit the hash pipe and join the National Guard. I could be elected president.
You went over my helmet?
What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
I know, right?
The list is in the open! Hey, where are the white women at?
They're digging in the wrong place.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Are you not entertained?
Second start of the ride. And straight on till morning.
Meow.
You son of a bitch.
21 gigawatts!
Wax on, wax off.
Oh my goodness, I am sporting a tremendous woody right now.
Bartender is the aristocrat of the working class.
You want to flip 6 3-hole play and you could score.
Cover me.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
On this team, we fight for that itch.
Might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
No ticket.
No ticket.
I get older, they stay the same age.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. He's 15.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Hope is a good thing. Maybe the best of things. And no good thing ever dies.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm just joking. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, and always with me, my hetero life mate, Omar Feelings. How are you, sir?
Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you, buddy.
I didn't stage wanted to wait until we got on, so.
I know. What is the Reel McCoy? You might ask. The Reel McCoy is your weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go watch a movie and watch it, come back to us, and we break it down for you. And today, we're celebrating a couple of things, but mostly my birthday. I am old. I am 46 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I don't look like it. My handsomest, youngest physique might tell you I'm 42, but I am, in fact, older than you think. All right. Putting that aside, we'll say hello to the chat because I know Salty Nerd Podcasts have descended upon us on this lovely day. Welcome to Jillian. Welcome to Kaladin. Welcome to Anima Confusia. We will be talking very, very soon. Evening to Juliet and Griffin and who else? One Punch Man and Mrs. Criticless. Hello. I have been using the site recently, and quite a bit in
Speak
bursts.
of the devil.
I might say in bursts. And I have to say another happy birthday, not to me, but to Mr. Tom Connors, who had a birthday recently. And yes, I am older than Tom Connors.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Happy birthday to you, man. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Don't feel like it's just going around the sun just the one more time.
Right.
Was I born in 1979? Correct. What a wonderful, wonderful year to be born, along with really great movies. All right, cool. We together starting
before we start, it was like Jillian, thank you for the 5.
Oh yeah.
Much appreciated.
Of course. Thank you, Jillian, for the 5 gifted memberships, and topping that up with a little cherry, a couple of dollars. Happy birthday, Meph. Celebrate to the fullest. Always. And I'm going to celebrate with not going to work tomorrow. So I'm going to have a lot of fun sleeping in tomorrow. That's my fun. That's like, I want to not do anything on my birthday, which I don't get to do. Mostly I just, go away, go in and, be bitter all day. Hello to Mark Santos and Sander Hammerschlag. Hello. Let's see. One Punch Man says, I was born in 1978. I'm your senior. Of course, there are many people who are my senior. Many who I respect and love. All right. We are in the month of June. We do not celebrate Pride here. We celebrate Pride all year round by treating people like people. But in a role reversal where every kid around the Western Hemisphere, we'll call it, and even Australia probably, I don't know how that works over there, but most of the Western world is heading off to the summer vacation, either really soon or in a few weeks. But we decided to go role reversal and have ourselves a back to school month with all month stuff that is related to school, colleges, high schools, all that good stuff. And why not start with the 1984 classic Revenge of the Nerds, which we are talking about today. Oh my feelings.
There is only one film that we'll be covering this month that is the actual interpretation of what is actually currently happening in the Western Hemisphere.
Okay. Oh yeah. I know.
Exiting school. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
anyway, go ahead.
Told you, watched it twice, and at the second watch, I'm like, wow, I don't like the nerds. I think they're kind of bad people. The nerds are kind of assholes in this movie.
I don't know. Anyway, what I wanted to ask, don't. I gave him the same look.
I'll explain.
Where did you watch this movie for the very first time? And please tell me you were too underage to watch it.
Me?
Yeah.
Of course I was.
Yeah. Everybody was.
I was like 4 or 5 years old when I saw this movie.
Perfect.
And I loved it, every second of it. Especially the parts where my mom tried to cover my eyes. We've got Bush.
We've got Bush.
Yeah, no, it's a classic film. I don't even remember the first time I saw it, but it had to be on home video. I'm sure it was one of the movies that my dad brought home early because of the time period. So surely it had to be somewhere between Police Academy and, Gremlins or something like that. Who knows?
And happy belated birthday, Tom, from Jillian H.
Well, thank you.
And I hope it was amazing. Please send that over to Midnight Sage. I'll take care of it. I watched this movie for the very first time on VHS video, one of those video cassettes that my parents brought in, and they didn't quite know exactly what was in it. I don't know. Back then, I didn't really have glasses, but I wasn't really too much into sports and stuff. Maybe my parents kind of knew where things were headed. Because I was a Lego geek, and I was the first kids in my class that I knew that had D&D. So it was kind of right up my alley. I just didn't know it just quite yet because I was 8, something like that.
Wow! So your mom let you play D&D even during
my mom bought me the D&D.
Well, the Satanic Panic wouldn't have hit Israel then.
No.
That was a U.S. thing, which was really weird.
I know. It never quite hit the way it hit over there. It didn't really hit at all. Because we don't really have Satan, if you know.
Yes.
The furthest thing away from like being or closest thing to being a Satan is like, you don't believe in God. That's the furthest thing. Anyway, So Revenge of the Nerds was quite up my alley because I loved the whole hokiness and getting back at the evil, crazy jocks. It's the nerds versus the jocks is always like the underdog and, the true underdog story. And actually, it kind of fits with where they were. We'll touch upon that, which is a little bit more broad than just nerds versus jocks. It's also like blacks versus whites a little bit. And the fact that it's, it's the minorities versus the majorities. It's all that wrapped into one. So let us start.
And you really do have to give the film credit too, because it's one of the most positive representations of an openly gay character that wasn't ostracized for being gay at all throughout the movie in any way, shape, or form. Like nobody hurled a slur at him about that. He wasn't ostracized for his sexual orientation. He was ostracized because he was also kind of a nerd.
Yeah. It was kind of a nerd. So we will start our show with the segment we start always, and it is called Behind the Screens.
Sound production, take 2.
A bit loud, sorry. Behind the Screens is where we turn to me and get the lowdown on everything behind the scenes, production-wise, all that good stuff. And Tom, please interject if I forget something or if you know something that I didn't really cover, which is all right with me. The movie didn't really have a working title. It didn't really have a title. It just had a rough edges of a script, which, by the way, that rough edges kept it in the movie even after it got a title. But eventually they settled in for Revenge of the Nerds, which, depending on who you asked, might have been inspired by an LA magazine that had an article of the same name, Revenge of the Nerds. And they talked about these tech bros in San Francisco in this little thing called Silicon Valley. And a little bit of a reminder of that, or sort of like an inkling of what that magazine article was talking about. If you know, when Lewis and Gilbert go into their first dorm, I think it's Lewis that hangs up this poster, and the poster is of Apple II.
Yeah.
Which is, not really a dig, but it's sort of like, okay, this is the kind of person we are talking about. It's like they happen to still not gone through college yet. The location of where they shot almost the entire film was Arizona. Is it State University or University in Tucson? It's really confusing because
was it actually Arizona State, but the Tucson
branch or something?
Well, if I remember correctly, is it this movie that they had issues with the original place they were going to shoot?
Yeah.
Okay, so they were fine with it, and then they read the script and they're like, nope.
Yeah, they noped out. Even though Fox was like, we're gonna donate a lot of money to the college, and they were like, no.
Well, and also, if you are from the States, you already know ASU already. You're already laughing your asses off. It's like, why would they just already deny it stigma that they already have? ASU is known as the party school, Meth. Like, you don't really go to Arizona State to study.
But I also know like all the fraternities are real for the most part too, because I actually dated an Omega Mu for a while.
Not all of them, and we'll get to that when we actually get to the actual fraternities, because I was in a fraternity for a short period of time.
There you go.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Was it
I'll get to that. The answer is yes and a little bit no. So they got the script. The vice dean or whatever got the script to like finally approve it, and it was like, no. And Jeff Kanew, the director, had to actually go out and negotiate certain terms, what you can show, what you can't show, what kind of scenes depict the university in a bad light, maybe, possibly, perhaps. And because the fact that the script was a little bit raw and rough, they could negotiate a lot of stuff out because they had way more, and I'll talk about the deleted scenes. They had way more stuff in there, which they eventually cut out anyway, which had nothing to do with the university itself, but it's what, it's part of the negotiations and, all that stuff. And the one thing they had, like Jeff Kanew had to promise, is they had to not interfere with university activities, because this was during like the late first term, like a lot of sports stuff, and they were in a gymnasium, so they had to, juggle all that good stuff. So the Nerds' original dorm was called Cochise Hall. Not a joke. The gymnasium was called Bear Down Gymnasium. I just find it really funny because Bear Down is also getting naked. If you're not into that stuff, the Alpha Beta frat house was actually the Alpha Gamma Rho frat house. They didn't really have an Alpha Beta. The Alpha Beta was Alpha Gamma Rho. In terms of the casting, now there's Stan, the main guy, there's Ogre, and there's the side dude that does a lot of hype manning, but doesn't really have any like meat on the bones in terms of stuff to say. He's Matt Salinger, JD Salinger's son. And he was cast because the director loved Catcher in the Rye. That's the only reason. At least that's the reason he said. He cast Ted McGinley because Ted McGinley, between his work in Married with Children, which came a little bit later, and his work in Happy Days, he did a lot of modeling because, let's face it, he is a gorgeous man. Jeff Kanew, the director, saw a brochure with Ted McGinley's face on campus in Arizona promoting the college. So he contacted his agent and got him on the film. And what happened was Ted McGinley eventually became the sort of the life of the party behind the scenes. And he was regarded as a really nice guy because he organized all the beer keggers, all the good fun. And it was generally everybody in the cast and crew really liked working with each other. So it was a lot of fun for them. Robert Carradine, before they started shooting, went into full Lewis regalia, got on campus, went to a few classes, and generally hanged around the university just to feel the people. He didn't really like what he saw or experienced. The nerd laugh. Everybody knows the nerd laugh, It was ad-libbed by James Cromwell. Now, he sort of started doing it, and the cast was mimicking him, and they had fun with it. But when Cromwell kind of finished, wrapping up, he didn't really have too many days on shoot. He drove home and he realized, oh my God, that's exactly how my ex-wife laughs. Too bad for him. Well, it is an ex. The booger belch at the sort of the Roman contest was a combination of a real belch and the sound that a camel makes during coitus. We'll keep it a PG here. And it's sort of audio mashed in together to make it the glorious belch. And when we're talking about Booger, both Booger and Poindexter didn't really have a lot of character development in the script. They didn't really have a lot of lines, especially Poindexter. Poindexter had, in the script, he had some lines that actually Lamar says. And both Tim Busfield and Curtis Armstrong really developed their own how the character looks, what they might have said. And there's the scene where the nerds go out and try to get rent and all that stuff. The entire exchange between the guy in the mailbox, just flipped on the thing, and Booger was completely ad-libbed. Wrote it in. And
Booger is a strange character all around.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it more when we get into the movie, but I mean, he's one of the few of the nerds that is kind of more of a geek than a nerd, right? Because you guys got to remember when this movie came out, what was considered a nerd is basically what Lewis and Gilbert are, right? And especially Poindexter. Poindexter is like the quintessential what everybody thought was the nerd in the 80s. And they were treated just like crap. Even though these were the guys that, because computers weren't cool yet. Video games were just kind of starting to make their way in. Sci-fi type geeky stuff wasn't quote unquote cool yet. So
unless it was Star Wars, and even that were like really reserved to nerds.
Yeah, but Booger on the other hand, he is kind of the representation of the geek, right? Because there was nerds and geeks. Because I wouldn't necessarily because Booger doesn't really have any real what would you call it?
I mean, he is smart, but
he's
doesn't
smart,
really
but he's
show
not on the
in
level
the
of
movie.
the other guys. Yeah, he doesn't have any real skills that would, like, in later in life, he's probably going to be a janitor.
An MIT janitor, we'll call it that.
Yeah, I mean, or he might get lucky that he'll be able to copy off of half these guys and get somewhere. Maybe get some job somewhere. But yeah,
it's so odd that you mentioned that, Tom, because again, watching
he's the guy that's going to get him laid, though.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Yes. For the first time watching it, because I was just thinking immediately when Booger is there, I always think of the show now in retrospect, and it came out even though afterward, many years afterward. But Freaks and Geeks, he'd be the freak, and the rest with the geeks. Yeah, he's the cool guy with the pot that can get him laid, but he's gonna need you to help him with the homework.
He's the only guy now that wouldn't be considered cool. Right, he wasn't considered cool then, but he definitely wouldn't be considered cool now.
No,
and that's the thing, because geeks are not still on the same level as nerds, to where nerds and that's what I love about Revenge of the Nerds 3, is that it flips it around, and it's because it deals with the fact that in the 10 years since the original film came out, nerds are now cool, and that's the problem with why they have tried to remake this movie. I don't know how many times now, and it's just never going to happen because you can't.
When the most recent time too, a pair of I'm sorry, the African American comedy twins. I can't remember their names now. They had multiple shows, like Adult Swim.
Oh, the Wayne brothers?
No, I thought Key and Peele were supposed to make it, but maybe it was the Wayne brothers. But
there was
no. They're actually they're two younger comedians, but they were supposed to be like the Lewis and Gilbert in the most recent ideation of a remake in 2020.
I just know it's been passed around like a cheap hooker.
There is essentially a 2006 but there's a 2006 project that went underway. They already shot about a couple of weeks, and the studio nixed it. I don't even remember which studio it was. I think it was Universal and not Fox that had a script. They started shooting, and they started looking at dailies, and they was like, nope. And they just canceled the whole thing.
And then the one after that, I think they actually they did an open casting call, believe it or not, at one of the Comic-Cons. And that was like the last I remember hearing about it. And this would have been like 2008 or 9, maybe 10 at the latest. So this is the most recent one that they tried doing. And even then I said, you can still get real nerds and it ain't going to make a difference.
Yeah.
First of all, most real nerds can't act. Look, I've seen a lot of fan films.
Well,
we're looking. Wait. I'm looking at the camera. We're looking at you, Felicia Day. Yeah, we know.
Yeah. Oh God.
But anyhow, back
still
on
the
track.
best thing she ever did. Sorry.
What? The Guild?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And was a YouTube series or a web series. Anyway.
Web series, yeah. I found it was Seth MacFarlane wanted to reboot it under Fuzzy Door, his production company.
Oh,
with
okay.
Kenny and Keith Lucas, and they had the rights in December 2020.
Well, essentially,
yeah. So that's
the
the most recent one.
The new Revenge of the Nerds. I know, Tom, you hate it. Is a Big Bang Theory.
I don't hate.
Problem.
Okay.
The problem for me. No. I'm serious.
Yeah.
The problem for me for Big Bang Theory, after season 5, it really was treading water, and it wasn't really good.
Well, they fucked up and they put they made the biggest mistake, the cardinal mistake in every TV show, and that is when you get the will they won't they couple together.
Yes.
That is what made the show turn the show from de facto nouveau Revenge of the Nerds into Friends redo. Because it does. It just ostensibly becomes Friends at that point because they introduce 2 other new female characters to fill in, and then it's like, this is literally Friends. Like, what am I watching here?
Yeah, but also too, the one thing that the Big Bang Theory is missing that Friends had was the fact that the characters are not likable. So could not care for any of the characters in the Big Bang Theory. They're all just insufferable.
I'm not going to discuss too much, but the
I
thing
figured
is,
out that All My Feelings just doesn't like nerds.
I like nerds. Nerds are just fine.
No, you just don't like nerds. I figured that out.
He is the biggest nerd of us all. You don't understand.
That's why he's a self-hating fucking nerd. Self-hating nerd. You're the worst of us all.
I'm an anti-nerdite.
You're just here for the jokes.
You fit into a Revenge of the Nerds 3, sir.
I haven't even seen Revenge of the Nerds 3.
You've never seen it? That's actually semi-decent. 4 is the one to avoid.
Also, at one point in time, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, doesn't Ogre become one of the nerds?
Yes, in part 2.
That's 2.
That's what I thought. I thought that was the
2 and
case.
3 are okay. 2 and 3 are serviceable. It's the 4th one is the one to avoid. The 4th one actually feels like the TV movie that it is.
So 2 was the one where they went on vacation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
2 has the most definitive Ogre line of all of them, because they pass around this big, huge joint.
Yeah,
and he gets the joint. Puff move. And he was like, what if CAT really spelled dog? I still use that sentence. That sentence is here to stay with me. All right.
The other part I love about part 2 is the Mr. Miyagi guy that teaches.
Oh, yeah.
James Hong, the immortal.
Yeah, it was James.
Immortal James
That's
Hong.
right.
Okay.
So part 2 has its moments, but anyway, let's get back to part 1.
For sure. There were a few scenes that were cut from the movie. One of them had sort of a kart race in the Roman games, which the nerds obviously won because they got pushed by the Omega Moos. There was a scene where Stan picks up a telephone call, and a nerd was threatening him about money or something like that. And Stan was like, don't call me here. Call me somewhere else. We need to keep you quiet. And it didn't really fit. Supposedly the nerd was his brother and he lent him money. And there's a whole backstory in why he hates nerds so much.
Yeah, it's to do with, and that's the whole other thing is that he has a brother who's a nerd. So it's supposed to add more to his character as far as like his hate for nerds and why he's got a boner for these guys. Yeah.
This is a movie, soup to nuts is like 84 minutes. We don't need character depth.
It was originally 115 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
105.
I agree. It's better without it. I agree. It's better without it. You don't need it.
And the biggest scene that was cut was the nerds go to the Tri-Lambda's convention in Vegas. Now, when they show up in full daishikis with hats. Now, Lamar does not have a daishiki, but he's wearing a fez, which has nothing to do with African garb. And they have the scene where the main guy from Lambda was like, get these nerds out of here. I don't want them embarrassing me. And the side dude was like, no, you can't kick them out. They're on probation. They're still in probation. We can't kick them out. And in that convention, they meet up with Gilbert's uncle, which turns out to be a massive racist. And they had to cut that out. And there's a real argument that they cut out that Gilbert actually defends all the black people from like the Tri-Lambdas. Like, dude, are you serious? These are people like me, you know? It's the dejected, it's the minority, it's the unwanted. And his uncle was not only really racist, he was really, really, really racist. Also, he was named Meyer, which wasn't really fun all around. Now, when they finished the movie, they did a test screening. First test screening was received well. Second test screening went disastrously wrong, which caused Fox to actually pull a lot of PR money to promote the film and all that stuff. And when it came out, kind of came out with a little bit of a thud, but the word of mouth got the ball rolling. Now, in terms of budgets, it really depends where you look. Some say it's 8, some say it's 6. We'll call it even between 6 and 8. Let's say it's 8. But the movie made $40 million with very little PR. So it's
huge on video.
Essentially just word of mouth, which is a huge thing.
Because didn't it make almost like triple back its entire original
Fox
budget?
Expected this movie. Fox expected this movie to do so bad that they like released it only on like a few hundred screens, I think, if that.
Yeah,
and maybe it was even less than that.
And they like added in a little bit like more showings and more screens later on.
Yeah. It kind of just kept growing and growing and growing because like Summer of '84 was just in general was crazy, but the whole year was insane. And this was just another one of those movies that just word got out there about it, and it really grew on HBO, and because it was on HBO like every 5 minutes.
It made it made so much money to Fox on home video.
Yes, that's why
they greenlit the sequel. Real.
Yeah, the sequel came pretty quick on the heels of the original, I remember. But yeah, it was because of the success.
Now the sequel was done for around the same budget, around $8 million, and it pulled in the box office around 9. So it wasn't really doing stuff on like theaters. But again, went to VHS and just fucking insane.
Same thing, yeah. No, and that's why the third film went straight to television instead / video. But it was kind of crazy how it was like. Well, the thing with the Revenge of the Nerds is it came out amongst, and it can be lumped in with a lot of the same type of sex comedies of the time, right?
Yes.
Like whether it be Porky's or
Summer Camp,
Animal House,
Animal House.
Any of those kind of films, but at the same time, it had a different kind of charm about it. And it kind of, and this is the same thing with Police Academy, right? Because Police Academy, also the first one, fell into that sex pot comedy kind of realm. But as you got along, they learned and realized that, these could be family comedies. And that's where I feel like they missed the boat with Nerds. And maybe, I don't know what happened in the theatrical release of the second film. Maybe it went up against something it shouldn't have. I'd have to look. But
I didn't check.
But I feel like Fox could have had their little, Police Academy / whatever kind of franchise there. Because you're right, these were cheap to make, and they could have just made them every year and just kept pumping them out. But for some reason, they just hit a brick wall. But like they could have been like another Police Academy because they had a great charm about them. They were the kind of comedy that even though they were R-rated and they did have a little raunch in them, they were the kind of movie you could watch with your mother and you wouldn't like wince through the whole goddamn thing, and she would enjoy it just as much as you.
Especially back then, because essentially it was way tamer than Porky's.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Because you essentially got the panty raid scene and the moon room scene. Basically, that's it.
I mean,
right?
Yes, they talk about sex a lot, but you're right. Like Porky's was all about sex. As opposed to this, where this had a different kind of sweetness to it, especially in the story with Gilbert and his little love story, and Lewis and how he's a loyal friend, and the other nerds and how they're all coming together and building this little community to try and, you know, support each other, especially when they're being persecuted and othered. I hate to use that word now, but yeah.
There's we'll get to that once we do the game, but there's a lot of parallels of like the nerds and black people in America without actually saying it.
That being over,
But there are certain aspects and stereotypes that are just pulled on the nerds that are like, okay, I can see where they were going, what they were going for in the script itself. And it manifested itself in a very sort of like tame PG, not, you know, it's R, but tame PG version of that persecution. We'll get to that in a moment.
I had a question for you before we play the first game of the night. Do you have any notes about the actual music production and how much they spent on it? Because it's insane. They have the Talking Heads, they have Michael Jackson and Queen.
The music in the movie, though, is different than what's on the soundtrack.
It is. It's complete. It's night and day, but they would still have to license it in order to have it in the film.
Yeah.
So it still have to cost a lot of money.
I think it was a lot cheaper to do it that way, like obviously. And then there was also this stigma of putting older songs on soundtracks as well. Like for some reason they didn't do that.
But Talking Heads had just came out, and then also because Burning Down the House had just came out, and also Thriller was relatively new.
Thriller was already like 2 years old, but like that's what I'm saying. Even then, like, because a lot of time the whole thing was even if they had a song, they would, and I don't know why they would do this, they would just as soon go and have the artist re-record it than have the original. The movies that kind of changed that were Pretty Woman and Something About Mary, because like in between those time periods, that's when it kind of changed, and then Guardians of the Galaxy and shit like that really solidified this idea that you could just basically make a soundtrack, and Quentin Tarantino really helped too.
Yeah,
make a soundtrack of classic music.
Pulp Fiction was like, okay, I'm gonna
really
take
kind of was the
that
first
I
time
like,
to be honest. Yeah,
I mean, I thought Reservoir Dogs was the first big one.
Kind of, but Pulp Fiction was much bigger.
Pulp Fiction,
that's true.
You know that everybody and their mother had the CD, or I don't even know if they came out on vinyl, but I had the CD.
Yeah, and it was
like
chock
2 days
after
the movie came out.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let's play our first game of the night. It is called
I actually have the record album. I was going to grab it, but never mind. Let's go.
I don't believe you were here, but I have the CD here. And
button again.
I pressed on the mouse button again, but the original ticket stub of when I went to see the movie is here on my desk. It came from my mother a few months back. Anyway, what is Missing Marquee, you might ask? The Missing Marquee is where we take 10 posters of movies, have their text written off. We display them, and our distinguished guests will have to guess which movie this is. Before I do this, I will do this. See, StreamYards is a bitch. Because
make this harder, man. Come on.
I mean, it's
all up to you, Tom.
It's The Hunt for Red October. No, it's A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men, correct.
You can't handle the truth.
This is full throttle, isn't it? Yeah,
This Angels is not Full Throttle.
This is the first one?
The first one.
Is it? I thought the second one was the one with all the fire and the black outfits.
No.
Wow. Okay, this is Bad Grandpa.
No, it's not.
Dirty Grandpa.
Or Dirty Grandpa, whatever the fuck it is.
I never watched was the one with Johnny Knoxville.
Close enough. Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissorhands is correct.
Holy Man.
Holy Man.
I actually saw that in the theater. Ripped 3D. Or ripped, whatever.
R.I.P.D.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be Shazam.
Shazam.
That is Boondock Saints, but is it part 2 or 1?
Boondock Saints, the first.
First one.
Okay. Green Mile.
Green Mile.
Ooh, this is shit.
Very famous
Twist
movie.
of Evil. Or
Close. It has evil.
I know what I'm trying to think of it. Yeah,
I know.
Evil. I just watched it not long ago too. I'm trying to think of the damn name. Oh man, something evil. What the hell is the name? Help me out here, guys, in the chat.
Chat.
I know what it is.
What is this movie? Orson Welles.
Yeah, I just watched it.
Charlton Heston.
Not even a year
I
ago.
remember
Touch
the
of
name
Evil.
of the
Touch
girl.
of Evil.
Yep.
Thank
Touch
you.
of Evil.
I knew it was something evil.
Guess got one over on you, Tom. Ha!
Well, to be fair, I'm having a rough day, so I'm trying.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'm just messing with you, buddy.
It's
I go
all
from
good.
make it harder to fucking this is too hard.
Oh shit, you were right. It was Full Throttle. Never mind.
I thought so because that's the I was to say that's the first one was all pink and yellow. The second one had all the fire and black. See,
Kalikioki, and just so you know, whenever we have Tom on, expect a very fast game. I give the guest an opportunity just to run with it. So, and when typically we don't have a guest, it's all up
sorry
to you,
guys.
chat.
I should do that in the future. Just kind of let it
No,
go for
Tom.
a few minutes.
If you're here, you need to
It's for you. If you do lightning round, Tom, that's what you're here for, bud.
Exactly.
You know, this is the sad part is you remember that show, like, speaking of Revenge of the Nerds, because it was kind of a weird spin-off of it. But they did, I think was it on Sci-Fi or was it on G4? It was one of those channels where they actually had where it was like Beat the Nerd, right? Like, so they would have nerds that were like,
I think that was G4.
I think it was G4. I think you're
G4.
right. And where they would actually have nerds come in from certain communities. And if you beat that nerd, you would become that nerd now. So like they had like a Simpsons nerd and a Tarantino nerd and a whatever kind of nerd in there. I'm like, if I could just get on that show.
Nobody could beat Chris Gore, essentially.
Yeah, Chris was great on that. That's what, yes, you're
Chris
right. It had to be
fantastic,
G4. I should have thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had some other cool guests once in a while. I think even Kevin Smith popped up on one of those, but yeah, when he was cool.
When he was when he was fat, cool, and jolly. All right. I kind of skipped over the fact that Lewis comes over to Gilbert and it's like, Gilbert, get up. We have to get up. Like, no, I'm sick. I don't want to go to college. And then he pulls out the rug and is like, he's good to go.
I was going to say, too, Tom, I do believe this is actually one of the first comedies of all time to have the title before any intro credits.
It might have been because of what Mephisto was saying before is they may not. I don't know how late in the game that they finally decided on Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
It was really late. I'm not sure
because
I think it was like the first parts of the shoot. So they started shooting January of 84.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the script while they were shooting was not done. They added a few things, all the Poindexter stuff.
Yeah.
Almost all of it was all ad-libbed. Even like in
I think a lot of the booger lines
Tim Bosfield went to a thrift store in Tucson and bought the suit. Like it was his.
And the glasses
suit,
are somebody else's glasses. Yeah.
And the glasses are somebody else's glasses.
And they said to him, they're like, do you want us to put some like plastic lenses in there? And he's like, no, because then I can see.
Yeah.
It's funnier if I actually can see. So I'm actually doing
He wants to, because that was part of his thing, is because since he couldn't see, A, he would bump into shit all the time. And B, that's how you got the big googly eyes.
Yeah. And his sort of like his entire hairdo, there was a hairdresser on set, but he essentially did his own hair.
Wasn't
the
Timothy
comb down
Busfield
side.
Also the second runner-up to play Gilbert? Also,
no,
there was a couple of guys that they were like that ended up becoming background nerds and some other of the secondary nerds that were in the running for the main nerds. But
I don't remember because I didn't put it in my notes.
Or maybe it was Lewis, but one of the two, I think.
I think no. I think actually Curtis Armstrong might have been Gilbert or
he was
Lewis.
another one too. I know. Yeah.
They couldn't quite decide. And like I said, Booger was like this side character with one line. He was supposed to have.
He got really beefed up. Yeah.
Something else,
and
it
stuff is
really
all improv.
Yeah.
Because he came in from Risky Business, and he wanted to do more stuff, and he saw an opening, and it was like, okay, I can, if you let me, I'll do stuff. And he was completely inventing this booger character, and maybe that's why he's so different from all the other nerds.
Well, and I know that's also why there's a lot of these little sections where, like, the movie, it doesn't feel like a skit show, but it almost is like there's these little skits here and there, especially the booger stuff with Takashi.
Gosh, yeah, they seem like little vignettes. Yeah, they
because
really
do. I remember Curtis Armstrong talking about how him and oh god, I just forgot his name, Brian Toshi. Who also went on to do the voice of Leonardo, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of
Weird. I like weird.
Yeah, I like turtles, not the weird. I hate two buttons at once. But anyhow. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like him and those two would go off and they would improvise a lot of this shit together. And then they'd show the directors and they're like, that's in the movie.
There are two distinctive scenes where Brian Toshi and Curtis Armstrong were doing, like, they were playing cards each time.
Yep.
And both times it was a scene completely ad-libbed, or sort of like they came up with it on the fly. And Jeff Kanew was like, good, let's shoot it. Let's go.
Well, I had a book that it was about all these 80s comedies, because it was like this renaissance of comedies. Like, I mean, we've already mentioned a bunch of them between Animal House, Police Academy, and some of the others, where these movies were making the kind of money that blockbuster movies would make, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, in the retelling of it, from my memory, was like Curtis was talking about how, like, you know, in between shots and they were doing things, and because everything, you know, you get downtime. So, and especially when you're shooting big casts like this, so you'll have like other guys shooting and stuff while you're just sitting around in a trailer doing nothing. So like him and Brian would be just playing cards, and then they just started playing cards as the characters, and then they came up with the little bit of the, I have a frush, I think. He's like, frush? What the fuck is a frush? Oh, see here, you got too many cards.
What the fuck is a rusher craw?
Yeah, so they started doing all these little bits, and they showed them off, and they're like, yeah, that's in the movie. So you're right, like, yeah, a lot of that stuff was just improvised.
Yeah. Just gonna say real quick, can we just say that this had one of the most annoyingly infectious theme songs ever, because I've had it stuck in my head for the last 2 days now?
I agree. By the way, the guy in the overalls was like, in hindsight, it would have been a great John Belushi guy.
He's basically like their booger.
He is their booger.
He is booger.
He burns the house down. Like our house is
on fire. After, before the setup is they actually have talking heads
burning down the
house before that. And for some odd reason, Ogre kills a man before this.
Yeah.
He drops him head first from nearly 3 stories. That guy is dead or crippled for life.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you brought up the theme song. I mean, this movie is kind of like a live action cartoon in some ways, and I'm surprised.
Yeah.
We never got a Saturday morning cartoon out of this. That's the one thing I was like really surprised. But
Ghostbusters got one, but Revenge of the Nerds didn't. That seems odd.
Because it was cartoony. The thing is, people forget
John
Goodman.
Oh, he's fucking great in
coach,
this.
and he was fucking great.
You know,
we forgot to practice.
During the icy hot kind of thing. I was like, shit, we forgot to practice. But the entire time I was watching this the first time, I'm like, so this is what happened to Walter before he was at the bowling alley with the dude.
Yes. He is essentially, again, playing John Milius. We just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
All right.
Just a younger college version. That's all.
Yeah. So essentially, Alpha Betas burn down the house. They kind of muscle the dean, the dean is a complete nerd, right? So the coach and the Alpha Betas muscle the dean. They literally throw a guy out the window.
And then he goes like, well, there's your roommate, buddy. I was like, this would never work out, right? Because the parents would sue the ever-loving shit out of that university.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and that's what's funny about the school turning down, the original school turning down the script, because I believe a lot of it was shot. Like I think wasn't this a high school gymnasium and not an actual?
No, it was
a college. Okay,
it's called the Bear Down Gymnasium, which I
thought
found
they had
funny because bear down means losing your clothes. Right?
I might be getting it mixed up with a police academy, but I thought they had to shoot in a high school for some of it too. But I guess I might be wrong.
No, the interiors were also shot in Tucson in one of the like a makeshift studio. But
I could be getting stuff mixed up. Yeah,
there's a lot of, you mentioned like animated stuff, but there's a lot of gags which are like airplane gags. When Lewis and Gilbert take their trunk all over the campus, there are like bikes getting stuck with each other and like very comedic slapsticky stuff.
Oh yeah,
which has nothing to do with the thing, but just it kind of reminded me of like Feckler, right, from Police Academy, where
very much,
he's moving along, but stuff gets demolished all over the place where he just moves.
He would be one of the nerds. You're absolutely right. Like, and that's kind of like. Police Academy and Nerds were one of the few franchises that were able to pull off both slapsticky, lowbrow humor, but also very clever dialogue humor and other setups at the same time. You know what I mean? Like it skirted that line both ways, kind of the same way. You have these very memorable, quotable lines, and you also have like these very goofy, slapsticky kind of weird scenes, but it all just seems to fit for some reason. And I think part of it is because both are kind of like, live action cartoons. And that's where I said it's kind of odd that this didn't spawn a Saturday morning cartoon, because it almost feels like it's the only one we missed out on. In some universe, there is one, I'm sure, with that theme song that gets stuck in your head.
Yeah. There was a TV show made. I'm not sure
if it was a pilot that didn't.
It didn't quite hit because they wanted to, like, they casted people that kind of look like Lewis and Gilbert,
which is funny because since Brian Toshi is in this, they actually have the voice of Michelangelo in the friggin' TV show.
Yeah,
you never know.
He plays Booger.
This is the scene that is the most like Animal House, like straight out of Animal House. And it's very short and very sort of like, oh, we got one over the nerds because I don't remember the frat house, the sorority. There's like, just go and a pledge to the Alpha Betas, as if they would be accepted. And
were they Pi Beta Pi?
Yeah, Lewis and Gilbert, suffered the consequences.
Hey, all I gotta know is at least they didn't come back with their. At least they came back like tarred and feathered. Not in the other thing where, because like, hey, remember they gave them those condoms and there were sheep there. We don't know what happened.
Yes,
it was implied.
We don't know. Yeah, it was implied. But yeah, this is where
to infer, but strictly implied.
But again, Tom mentioned it before. You had those moments of sort of like very sweet scenes, and one of them is the Gilbert kind of falling in love with this girl, and I don't know how fast
Judy. It's like, okay, first and foremost, that's not happening. Impossible in 1983.
Yeah, that ain't possible. But for the movie, it kind of sets up the fact that they're not just smart, they're like computer smart, which back in the day in 84, this wasn't as prevalent as today, where everybody's got their own goddamn phone, phone computer, and me with my 2 screens and 2 more screens on the side. And that ain't happening in 1984, but it kind of looked cool. I wanted to find out who did the graphics on this. I could not find anything, because it says visual. It's under visual effects. There's a company under visual effects.
Yeah, I think it's
that company does not exist anymore.
Yeah, I think it was just a vector animation or whatever that they did for the movie. Which I'm kind of surprised they took that kind of detail, because any other movie would have just done a standard animation, and everybody's like, you can't do that with computers.
And just to add to the slapstick, you kind of get a reminder that they're sleeping at a gym, and people are like practicing basketball for the basketball season.
Well, and also the whole thing too, where the dean actually kind of gave them an ultimatum as well. It's like, well, you can stay here until basketball season. It's like, then what are you going to do? Kick me out? I pay tuition.
Yeah.
What the fuck? But this one, I loved Booger's line too, because Gilbert's trying to be really sweet with Lewis and tell him about Judy. She's like, did you kiss her already? Like, no, she's not that kind of girl. Booger was like, why? Does she have a penis?
This was ahead of its time. Let's just say that.
Yeah. So the side montage of all of the nerds going out on trying to find retrospective like rooms to rent. The Toshi going to an actual Japanese man and ask him to stay, which he did actually ask.
Yeah.
Kind of informal, but a proper way to ask. And no, the way he told him off was, no, you can't stay here. One of the reasons why is because you're a nerd.
Yes. Which is strange, but it, and he even says it in English. He's like talking in Japanese and then nerd.
Yeah.
Close the door. And like I said, this scene was completely ad-libbed. It was like they let this run for a while and they just cut the pieces they wanted. Straighten it out. And it was the point is to do the most weirdest exchanges possible. Because Wormser got this lady who was very out front with her stuff.
If it had been one of the other nerds, it kind of would have made more sense. An older lady trying to get a younger man there, but he's a child.
Yeah. And then, of course, Lewis finds this rundown house, and he's like grabbing all the nerds, taking them there. By the way, if you noticed, we talked about this last week on Short Circuit, and the fact that Indian guys in high tech was not like, it's not as prevalent as today, but it did start a long time ago. And they did have a guy in a turban pretending to be Indian.
Yep.
But he didn't have any lines.
Yep.
But he was there. He's there in a lot of these scenes. I think he's in the when they get finally they get the Lambda jackets and they have this Lambda photo shoot. He's there, and they fix.
And we get everything. Hey, even Rocky had a what?
Yeah,
a robot.
No, a montage. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this montage,
and Rocky 5 did have a robot. Yeah.
No. Rocky 3 had a robot. Yes. Because after he was a champ, he was defeating people left over right of like 10 in a row because Mick got him easy fights, and he earned so much money. He's like, oh, a bunch of this robot, it could be a maid or something. But I did like this because it really shows how stuff can go, it's not quite there yet, the robot thing, but it's there for sort of like to show you, they're using robots too to clean the house 20, 30 years before Roomba. Get to, yeah. Once they settle in, they have a problem because the Alpha Betas throw a rock with a note that says, "Go home, nerds," or "Go away, nerds." And of course, they're shocked. And of course, Toshi and Booger play cards. And they go in front of the High Council. Or the Greek Council, I should say.
I say we blow the fucker's house up.
Yeah.
He just gets more and more perturbed. What
are you looking at, nerd? I thought I was looking at my mother's old douchebag, but that's in Ohio.
Yeah.
So they go before the Greek Council, and of course, Stan and the Alpha Betas control the Greek Council, along with Coach, who's like muscling the nerdish Dean. It's like, you can't, petition against Alpha Beta because you're not a fraternity. You need to pledge into a fraternity. And no fraternity wants them. But of course, and we get to sort of like half of the point is they go to a fraternity that essentially in their bylaws cannot refuse a probation fraternity. And because the nerds are, sticklers for rules and stuff, even though the guy doesn't really want them, again, they don't want nerds. And they're not really black. They don't say it, but they kind of mean it.
We already passed the bit where it's like, we got rejected by every single one of them except for Lambda, Lambda, Lambda. And we sent pictures to everybody except for one. Who was that?
Yep.
Lambda,
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 Lambda.
Lambda.
Wasn't one of them was Delta Gamma Rho? I think this is like, next time consider not sending a picture.
Yeah. So the thing is, they're
probably required, but like, since they didn't have one for Lambda, 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 and they didn't include it, they just probably assumed, because that's the way they act, is they just assumed they were black, right?
Yeah.
That whole point of sort of like conflating the nerds as a minority, and of course they would go to a minority fraternity for help or to get accepted.
I don't think the nerds were aware of that, but yeah.
No, the point is they're not aware of that. They didn't care the Lambda, Lambda, Lambda was a black fraternity.
No.
They didn't care at all. Yeah. They just wanted to be in a fraternity. They would be like, all they want is acceptance, essentially.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm saying there's a lot of parallel lines. Now, there's the moment, it comes up later in the movie, where the Alpha Betas put a big sign that says nerds, and they, set it on fire, which is, to me, hindsight is 2020. And I was like, okay, this could have been like an upside down cross burning of sorts.
Oh, it's obvious as
hell. They couldn't do it, a cross burning, so they write down nerds. All that stuff.
I'll admit it. This is the type of thing right now that we would call woke. But back then it was a little different. And that was the whole reason of getting into the whole point of what we were saying, is that nerds were treated that way back then. They were basically, treated just like every other minority, which is strange to think about.
Like a second-class citizen, yeah.
Yeah.
And that really kind of helped them actually make it. It just made it work. Now, they also, again, it's stereotypical that the Alpha Betas don't have marijuana in their party. They just have beer. But the nerds do have marijuana in their fraternity. And they even give it to the guy, not the main dude, but the side guy. And he was like, this is some good
I love when they put the music on. It's like, swing
low. Lewis says, no, hold on. I got something that I really like. And then it's swing low. It's like,
now that's a nerd move.
Has to take it off and looks over and almost just shakes his head. It's like, I know, man.
That's a nerd move. God damn it.
Well, that also too, before when they were canvassing for dates, and like Booger has a line, of course. It's like, I've been out canvassing high schools all day.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Back then, that was a little bit more accepted for some reason. I don't know why.
Because it was also a stupid joke. It's Booger. I mean, you're not supposed to take it seriously.
Yeah, but I mean, there was always that college guy that was always cruising high school chicks for some reason back then.
That's true. Well, and
like at Matthew McConaughey's character.
We have a movie dealing with that coming up very soon.
Hey, all I know is I get older, but they stay the same.
It wasn't as abnormal as you would think. Exactly.
It wasn't. It wasn't. So the party doesn't go very well until Gilbert's girlfriend was like, okay, I can call a few of my friends from Omega Moose. And essentially, they're not lookers, but they're here to party because Booger got the shit. This is a great scene. It's like we're trying to get the party started. Poindexter pulls out the piece.
The violin. What's great too is you have to love the fact that they are so socially inept, where it is like sitting at a middle school dance where there's that clear divide between the girls and the boys. We're like, I don't know if I should go over there and talk to him or not.
Yeah. Until Booger pulls out the piece and the party gets really good. Essentially, it literally becomes an Animal House frat.
It also helps they actually start playing good music.
I mean, look, we keep invoking Animal House because let's be real. I'm not gonna lie and say that it's not, but it is basically an Animal House ripoff at the end of the day. But what makes it different is that it has that charm, that the characters are memorable, that it does create new kind of a new scenario, because the guys in Animal House weren't nerds, right? They were just party animals.
Well, and also too, the dean, they're the polar opposite. The dean loves them in this film,
right?
Yes, but he can't do anything because he's a wimp. Essentially,
because you have John Candy filling the John Vernon role, basically. But
yeah.
Or did I say John Candy? I meant John Goodman. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
You're good. I know exactly what you meant.
That was a very different role if Coach was by John.
Why do we gotta pick on these nerds? They're just nice kids. They ain't hurt nobody.
Anybody want a slice of pizza?
Want a slice of pizza? Want an orange whip? Orange whip? Orange whip.
3 orange.
I love the fact that when Lewis kind of finishes the sex, he comes out as
all of a sudden he's Hugh Hefner.
Hugh Hefner.
All of a sudden, yeah.
Well, and apparently it was his first time, and he was good off the bat because that girl looked pretty happy.
Yeah, that girl looked a bit
frazzled. Her first time too.
Yeah.
But of course, Alpha Beta's being
Alpha. We also have we have to the Poindexter bit made me laugh out loud every single time.
Okay.
With that girl who just was like, Poindexter, are we gonna fuck or not?
Yeah.
And every single time, apparently, whenever he gets an erection, he just goes, ah.
I was gonna say she does a great Carol Kane without actually being Carol Kane, right? She's the discount.
No, you're right. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one, bud.
Kind of is filling that role in both in looks and the way she kind of talks. It just made me laugh.
So what's your guys' interpretation of what's going on here with Poindexter? Because my interpretation is that it's the first time he's ever gotten a boner.
Probably. It seems like it. It's like his brain is fried. It's like, I have no idea what's going on with my body right now.
Yeah.
To me, if you can draw a parallel line or a straight line from this moment into American Pie with what's his face, and he like ejaculates twice.
You think that's what it is he's having a... It could be that too. It could be either or.
Just off rip is man.
you can see the inspiration of what's happening in this scene straight into that scene with a much hotter babe. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, the only thing I was thinking of, it has to be when he gets an erection, because it happens later when they watch the footage of the pies, and he looks down and goes, ah.
Well, that's what I was thinking of. Yes. So you would think he would have more of a reaction here, though, but yeah.
Yeah, you think so?
Now, I want to talk about Lamar.
Lamar is so adorable.
In the party, it's a split second. He dances with a dude. He doesn't dance with another chick.
I'm sure
Nobody
Lamar
says
had more
nothing.
Stuff. Yeah, I'm sure
nobody
Lamar
gives
had
a
stuff,
fuck.
But...
Well,
right?
I think that's the best thing too, where there's no attention paid to it whatsoever. In fact, the only one who actually even says anything about it was Booger. Was like, well, I have a date. Was like, yeah, but he's a dude.
Yeah.
That's the only time it's ever even brought up. Even when they're dancing together, nobody gives a shit.
Well, of course, he's the only one who has a date.
Yeah. And he's wearing a shirt tuxedo. That's what I love about it.
To be clear, right here, I'm glad these two are sitting next to each other, because these are the only two in the group that aren't technically nerds. right?
Yes.
Because Lamar also doesn't have any, educational, or what do you want to call it? Like superiority over anybody else or mental superiority. He doesn't have any special skills. He's just gay and black.
Yeah.
That's why he's in the group.
Essentially.
Because nobody else will accept him. But these guys will, because they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the thing is, Lamar's game, right? He does go with Wormser to like get this.
Can we just
done.
say here, this is one of multiple crimes that the nerds commit, which is why I'm thinking
oh my God. We've become
really.
Jeez.
No.
This is illegal. All I'm saying is this is a crime.
This is
so putting a horse in the dean's office was just totally legal.
And then shooting it, not
pretending to shoot it.
Yeah.
Technically, that is legal.
Actually, I think that probably violates I don't know how many animal cruelty laws.
Could be up there, but come on, illegal surveillance. Yeah, that's
holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Anyway.
No, yeah. This is I have to agree. Like, yeah, to a point, yes. But at the same time, because it's the nerds, because there's this strange innocence about it, right? Because these girls have treated them like shit. They fucked them over already once, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. At this point, it's been 3 times. Once that they sent Lewis and Gilbert. The other is that they were inviting them to a party that didn't really exist.
No. They
the
go
other
out of their
is
way
the
to make
pigs.
sure that they are their dates for that, so they don't call anyone else, so they don't look for anyone else.
Exactly. So they fucked them over at least 3 times.
Thing. Yeah.
And the pig thing. So this was the retaliation, and essentially they were just, we're looking at you naked, and then we were filming you naked.
And then we took pictures of them, and then we sold pictures of you.
You look so pretty
really
when you're mad.
I did love that line. That line is fantastic.
And this is where Poindexter is like,
yep. I don't know what this is.
I don't know what this is. What is it? The fact that they have Wormser there and he's supposed to be 11 was, to me, I'm Wormser in this situation because I was 8 when I watched this. It's like, they included the kid too.
I think I was also that age.
Yeah.
Hey, what's important though is whenever they see him around any kind of alcohol, he's holding a can of Coke.
I mean, I was younger than Wormser, but like that was the weird thing about Wormser is like, nowadays you wouldn't allow a character like that to be in a movie like this. But back then, he was our gateway into this movie.
Because
it was almost like our excuse to our parents, right? It's like, but it's got a kid in it. You know?
And you do have to love the fact that Wormser had the only fourth wall break in the whole movie, because when he's talking about aerodynamics and how he changes to computer science, and he's just staring at the 2 girls' tits, and then they just smiles directly at the camera, like, see, exactly. I'm at the perfect height.
Now, this is something people won't actually get, is Gilbert is eating the Cheerios, not with milk. He eats them with water, not beer, not milk, but water. That's another stereotype that people don't actually get. But
lactose intolerant.
It's not lactose intolerant. It's about black people. Never mind. Have you not seen Friday?
I didn't get that reference. I just got it that they were lactose intolerant. That's because all nerds are lactose intolerant. See, you went for the racist thing.
I went for the full-on racist thing.
No, I was gonna say that's a Friday reference, but also no, he pours beer into it. It's Beerios.
It's Beerios.
No, he pours beer. Was it beer?
Yeah, beer in there. This part.
Give me a beer, and he cracks it open.
Pours it in the Cheerios.
Cheerios.
Then I forgot.
They're Beerios.
Wow, I watched it yesterday.
But if there was any other scenes where they didn't use milk, I figured it was just because they were lactose intolerant.
Well, because before, if he was lactose intolerant, that would make sense because he's eating a giant bowl of cereal earlier when the rock gets thrown into the window.
Well, there was also, I was just wondering what he meant, because there was also that scene where I can't remember who asks Poindexter what, but he's like going over all his medications that he has because they need something for, like, I think a head. It's the next morning. After the
right.
they're hungover or whatever, I think it is. Yeah.
I think which one of them? Never mind. Anyway, this is the ultimate kind of payback because
liquid heat.
No,
which is so funny because there is a thing that they used to do to a lot of people that were high school football. When you wanted to fuck with somebody, you put icy hot on their jockstrap, and you fuck with them, or they put them in their cup. Yeah.
And I didn't get this until yesterday when I rewatched this. They did a panty raid on the girls and a panty raid on the boys, but a different kind of panty raid. Just got it this Friday. This is like, oh, it's the same kind of retaliation, but a totally different variation of it. Of course, the only guy who could take it is actually Ogre, and even he at one point was like, oh, God damn it. Even he at one point gives up.
Yes, Ogre at the end. Shit, we didn't practice.
And when they called the dean, it was like, they did what? And he was happy about it.
So we put it on their jocks. He's laughing because they finally stood up for themselves, showing that they could hold their own. So earn the right.
But then, of course,
the effigy,
the retaliation shows up its ugly head, and the only way that they could win is actually trying to beat the Alpha Betas at their own game, which means. And I think Poindexter comes up with it is the fact that if they win the Gilbert says it, if they win the Roman games, they will become the new president of the head of the council. So they can call the shots, but it's going against the Alpha Betas. And that means they have to be smarter. This is one I particularly like. That they give Joshi a medicine.
Okay. This one I have to bring up because to me it brought back so many memories. Because there's this thing at the university they went to called the Little 500. It's a race that's held every single year. It's basically just a bike race reminiscent of the Indianapolis 500, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have drinking, but basically around it is an entire weekend of. So this is the week before Dead Week. This is the week before finals. Everybody just gets really, 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 really fucked up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this was just like I had college flashbacks the entire time. When I rewatched it twice, I'm like, oh, I remember Little Five.
And this entire race is completely ridiculous. The fact that they used a Japanese song in it at the very end.
No, it's a Japanese
hilarious.
Song. It's just Daisy. It's an old school ditty, but they just have Japanese lyrics over it, which actually are not in Japanese. They're just nonsensical gibberish.
Really?
Yeah, it's not really in Japanese.
Oh, okay. So they have all these like different stupid games. Obviously, the ones that are completely ridiculous that the nerds can't win. It's hilarious. This is one that I particularly like. It's not even against like the Alpha Betas, it's some other sorority, and Poindexter gets creamed. Yeah. But Ogre goes up against this chick from Omega Moon, and he almost loses.
And Ogre at the end, he starts crying.
Perfection. Same goes with the tug of war. It's like, okay, they give up and they let the Alpha Betas kind of fall to the floor, right? They don't even want to fight them. They just leave it alone and let them fall. because they want to win the stuff that they can win. You know, and one of them is the camel belching. Yes, when I got into the research, I was like, it's not a regular camel. It's a camel humping another camel doing voices for some reason. And they amalgamate that with an actual belch, which I don't know. When I grew up, I tried to be Booger. I couldn't do that. I could do close. I still can. This was glorious, by the way. I'm just setting it up. Now, why would they let Lamar have a different spear or javelin than anybody else? I don't know, but it created the most hilarious joke ever.
It was the whole limp-wristed thing.
Yeah, it was too on the nose.
Yeah, I was like, that's a little bit
a little bit limp. Let's just say that. But they just made it work. It made the joke work. It worked with his character. It's just worked.
Yeah, well, that and also the ADR work that came in afterward with him going, "Thank you so much. Oh, I love you all." But I think that was one of the only actual situations where they actually utilized sound effects with his javelin going over there, going, wow, 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 as it wiggled through the air. The only other weird case was, I found this the oddest thing, was at the very beginning of the film when they're unstrapping the chest, they had overemphasized just like a spring bouncing noise. I was like, why did they put that in the movie? I have no idea.
It has to do with what we said at the start. There are some jokes in some situations that are too sort of like Naked Gun, airplane type jokes that are there for some sort of a comedic effect or some sort of a, audio effect that are very cartoony.
And I think a lot of it is just the fact that they didn't know quite what the movie was going to be at first, that they didn't quite have the tone set. I think is part of the problem.
That's fair.
But it just happens to work for the movie. Like I said, it kind of in the comparison to like Police Academy, right? Which has kind of both the same kind of levels.
Yeah. Because if they were to include more, that would put further emphasis on why they didn't make a Saturday morning cartoon out of it. Because they could have made it a lot more bombastic and slapstick.
But. Yeah, which is why you do that in the cartoon and not the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. That's his hair pie, by the way.
That's my pie.
Oh, that's my pie. It's not hair pie. Yeah.
We don't want to talk about that one. Yeah.
Look, I mean,
I have an idea. Nothing is good about the idea. When I saw this for the very first time, or even the 10th time, I really didn't see any problem with it because they're both essentially adults. But she wasn't really expecting him.
I mean, she's consenting because it's there. It's happening in the moment. She drags him into the moon room, right?
Yeah.
She's the one that mistakes him for her boyfriend, right?
Yep.
I mean, this is the argument that everybody kind of keeps making is like, do you think people would, actually have a problem with this scene if it wasn't the nerd? If it was like some Brad Pitt type, I wonder, because there's how many of these kind of scenes in all these other movies that are very similar-ish. But for some reason, this is the one that everybody goes to. Because, this is why I keep giving you shit. Oh, my feelings is because there's been so many articles written about this, and all the things you're bringing up are the shit that's in these articles. And this is the number one thing they go to that they call is assault, right? It's like,
would be like,
how is it assault? Exactly.
I completely disagree. Well, I mean, I would think it would still be the same in level of being completely morally wrong if it didn't matter who the guy was. It didn't matter if it was Burke. It didn't matter if it was Ogre. It didn't matter if it was Brad Pitt. It didn't matter. Like doesn't matter. That's not cool.
I think the difference here, and I think the reason that I don't have a problem with it, and I think most people, at least I think, are overreacting is it's not like they actually had physical sex. It's not like she went down on him and he didn't say anything. He went down on her, right? So at that point,
and she agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean,
okay,
but at the same time, the only thing that's being like, that's an issue that anybody has with it is that he doesn't say who it is. Well, of course, she would freak the fuck out at first.
Yeah.
But that kind of ruins the scene, right? Like, I get it. It could have went
okay.
And what
bad.
people don't understand, and this is why Animal House keeps brought up. You know, there's the scene between the main waspy guy and the girl in the car where she has the glove and she's jacking him off, but like he's still floppy. This is this in sort of a weird kind of role reversal where no, she didn't expect Lewis. She expected Stan. But when Lewis pops up, she really enjoyed herself. He's there. She's freaking out. It's like, what? How did you do this? It's like, well, us nerds, we don't think about sports. We think about sex.
Yeah.
But she enjoyed herself and she was consenting, maybe not to Lewis.
But yeah, it's her reaction as far as the audience that allows us to go, oh, okay, because she then falls in love with him.
Mecha J says double standards. Maybe. And again, once she finds out, she freaks out a little bit. But when they talk, she consents. And when they leave the moon room, he's already on the nerd side.
She's smitten with him, yeah.
Yes.
Which
See, and everybody leaves out her reaction. That's my point too.
Oh, like, no. I include the reaction. I just think the act itself was incorrect. I think that's fair to say, right?
I don't think anybody in the world would say that it was the right thing for Lewis to do, but I mean, considering
that's right. Okay, right there.
all the context in the film that leads up to it, I think people overreact on the scene. That's my whole kind of point with it.
Now, and see, also too, I always keyed in more to it where it was actually like full, actual penetrative sex, not just him going down on her.
No, he just goes down on her. Afterwards, they might have sex, but yeah.
Also, I think that's a little bit different too. I know people say that there's no shades of gray when it comes to any kind of sexual contact, but yeah, there is. There's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, in how many movies is a guy in a situation where he ends up getting oral pleasure from some old lady or some nasty person after realizing thinking it's so like again, it's no different than any other kind of joke like that, but in this instance, it's her reaction that at least makes it okay. And then afterwards, they probably do have sex, right? And it's consensual, completely 100% consensual.
I mean, Boomerang had it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I was gonna say, Tom, you actually put that in a different kind of light for me because I thought it was the full thing, not just
no, he just went down on her.
Okay.
Now, one thing before we do our second game is, so this is a hodgepodge of things, which is Lewis and Gilbert are essentially what?
Devo.
Devo. They're
Devo. And Lamar is all about like Michael Jackson. The thing about Booger,
he looks like Eddie Murphy in fucking Raw with that.
But it's a kind of Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
The whole point is that Eddie Murphy had Michael Jackson clothings and made jokes about it.
Booger Presley.
Booger is Elvis.
Booger thing kind of ties into the Las Vegas, a couple of scenes that were cut.
Gotcha.
Because in Las Vegas, he has a scene where he has an interaction with Elvis and he buys the suit. So that's where he got his suit.
That makes way more sense. Yeah.
Other than that, it's just that's about it.
Toshi in the actual like Native American get up, I don't get.
I don't either. But the thing is, it comes directly from between sort of the competitions. There's the how much money can we raise, and everybody's dressed up like a Halloween outfit.
Oh,
so
okay.
it makes sense.
That's fair enough.
And it carries over from the Halloween contest or the dressing up into the show itself. And yeah, it looks like the guy from the Village People.
Now, it only would have been funnier if they did it a whole Village People theme and Lamar or Harold was dressed up as the leather daddy. The biker.
Yeah, because then you got like you got 3 of the other nerds dressed as the Beatles from the Magical Mystery Tour there in the left.
Yep.
And then you got the Supreme chicks from the Omega Moves. Yeah.
Yep. So it's just the Village People. It's a hodgepodge of people from like different walks of life, cop, this, and construction worker, and all that stuff. And this is the nerds with hodgepodge of things in music, from like that don't really mash up together for some reason, but for them it works. And they
this is one of the biggest problems I have with the soundtrack. Is this song is not on the soundtrack. Now, there's a song that has the same music, but it's a completely different song. Not the nerd rap song. I want the nerd rap song.
And the actual original plays during the closing credits because you hear the opening synth and you're like, okay, wait, so I get to hear Lambda, 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 and Omega Mu again, right? No. Like,
no.
What the hell is this?
They just used it for a backtrack,
Yeah.
And of course, they win the Roman games and get the ire of the Alpha Betas, which we will get to in a moment because we will do our second game of the night. I just have to bring it up because there we go. All right, cool. Second game of the night. It is called Screen Fighter.
Round 1, fight.
Get your nerd shit together.
Nerds!
Because we're talking movies. What is Screen Fighter? Screen Fighter is where we take 2 movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the 2, both of them are good or both of them are bad, we fall into our criteria, which is Friday evening, Saturday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with your significant other. 2 movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? This is a Tom Connors special. Okay. Jaws the Revenge and Gangs of the New York. I got both Revenge of the Nerds and Jaws in the same movie for Tom. Let's go.
Well, this is just not even fair. Because although Jaws the Revenge is probably one of the worst movies ever made,
it
is almost so bad that it's good.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, the Brodies have killed more sharks than probably global warming at this point.
Yes. That
shark
true.
has absolutely every reason in the world to take revenge on this family.
Yep.
So in that, I don't know. I mean, had it been directed by Martin Scorsese, though, we may be having a different conversation. I've only seen Gangs of New York once. I like it for what it is. It's a great film. You know how many times I've seen Jaws the Revenge?
15 times.
Maybe when I was 12. I've seen this movie so many times, dude. I could probably quote scenes from it. Like, yeah, Jaws the Revenge. I have to sadly pick that over Gangs of New York.
And don't say sadly.
That's the best part about the game, Tom. It's not about which is the better movie. It's about what fits in the criteria. And Meph, you know, I actually really like Gangs of New York. I think it's a really great film. I think it's a
great film,
but it's one of those films you can watch a couple of times and be like, I don't need to watch that again. Jaws the Revenge is on again. Tom, I agree with you. It's so bad, it's almost good.
You almost have to watch it because it's one of those few movies that has 2 different endings. So you it could end a different way. You don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I absolutely detest Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, yeah.
Gangs of New York was one of those movies where I was like, yeah, I'm going to put that with the Titanic pile. I'm aware of the goodness of this movie or how well made it is. This is going into, I watch this.
It's
I don't
also
need
one
to
of
watch
Scorsese's
this ever
most
again.
pretentious ones too. That's the other.
I would watch The Revenge any day over Gangs of New York. The Mummy Returns or fistful of dollars.
This is easy because The Mummy Returns is one of the worst sequels ever made, but it's not as good, so good it's bad like Jaws: The Revenge. It's just bad. And the CGI for the Scorpion King is horrendously bad because you're sitting here through the whole movie going, and they even bring it up in the trailers, which is that does not give it an excuse. Yes, he is.
No. But again, when you watch the trailer, so The Rock's in this. You're watching the movie. Where's The Rock?
Yeah. Well, the other problem with the trailer is it's like they bring this up all the time in the trailer, and I don't think this is an excuse to get away with it. Like the fact that these people who should know better still open up the fucking mummy's tomb. And not only that, they dragged their fucking kid along this time. This movie is so full of goddamn what the fuck moments. I'm just like, anyhow. Yeah, I hate the second Mummy. It's so bad I never saw the third one.
There's a third one?
Yeah,
yes.
Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Yes.
I think. Jet Li is the primary antagonist.
You know
I've
what?
heard that one's better, but yeah.
It is better. It's better because the son is actually an adult, so he can consent to being involved in his parents' fucking
Here's the problem. Jaws: The Revenge doesn't make me mad. The Mummy Returns makes me mad. Fistful of Dollars is a cinematic fucking masterpiece. And it's a remake.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's a ripoff. It's worse because they don't even credit the original, I don't think, in that. Because I think Kurosawa had to sue.
Nope. You did.
So
now that I
$12 all day long. Yeah.
So now that I remember stuff, I actually watched the third in the theater. I completely forgot, and I've watched it with my wife, and we were both disappointed.
It came out like what was it, 5-10 years after the last one? Like they waited a while.
No,
for that
I think 2008 or 9.
I think it was a couple years after.
I think it was 9 because it was what to the point where it's like, why did you bother making this?
It's one of those sequels where this is a little bit too late.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. Is I knew it was a few years after the second one. I'm just like, and they had drove the whole like Scorpion King thing into the ground. I've never seen The Lobster. So
I've never seen The Lobster, so that's going to be a
reroll. You should
watch
it, Tom. I think you'd actually like it.
Oh shit, this is easy. Shot in the dark. No chance at all for Man of Steel.
This is so easy for me. Shot in the dark, and I'm not really a big Peter Sellers kind of guy. With this,
but it's one of those rare sequels that's almost probably better than the original, but that's probably because it wasn't meant to be a sequel to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know how that really factors into this, but
it's not your ha comedy, but not like most of Peter Sellers' stuff is not a laugh out loud kind of comedy. It's sort of a chuckle situation. Oh, I can't believe he got himself into this one. To me, it's
a consistency though, and it's the way he plays his. You're right. Peter Sellers has this thing about him: either you love him and you get him, or you're just not.
You hate it. Yeah,
you're just not with his shtick. Yeah,
I would say it's the same thing with a lot of older comedies, especially when it comes to the Three Stooges. You either are along for the ride or you're not. Charlie Chaplin,
example.
Same way. Like you either are in for the ride or you hate it. That's it.
Still better than Man of Steel.
Yes.
The Devil Wears Prada or Look Who's Talking. That is the first one.
Yes.
Now, Devil Wears Prada might be the better quote unquote film, but Look Who's Talking. Don't sleep on that one. That's a great comedy. The first one is. I saw it in the theater almost blind. Like I had no real. I mean, I knew it was about a movie with a talking baby that sounded like Bruce Willis. That was all I knew going in to see it. And it was not what I was expecting when the movie I got out of it. I was thinking it was going to be like this John Hughes-esque having a baby talking throughout the movie, like, oh my God, my baby can talk kind of thing. Like I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. I didn't know it was going to be this more grown-up kind of comedy. But it won me over, and John Travolta's great in it. Kirstie Alley fucking knocks it out of the park. Bruce Willis doing just the gimmick alone, it shouldn't work. It shouldn't. You would have thought somebody at some point would have said, you know what, guys, this is just not going to fucking work. This is like sitcom material. But it works. They managed to, and I think it's because the characters in it are so enjoyable and believable, and it's Kirstie Alley and John Travolta that sell the film. And it's not reliant so much on the baby stuff. I almost wonder if you pulled out all of Bruce Willis's stuff how the movie
doesn't
would still
work.
play.
No, Tom, it doesn't work. Actually, if
Has
you
anybody done it
rewatched
yet?
it, the movie itself can hold together. It's the Bruce Willis bits that really puts the sort of like the cement or the mortar between the bricks. It
Well, they're probably the
really
most comedy, yeah.
It really ties in everything together. Now, dude, he is not Bruce Willis. He is, again, David Addison. He is David Addison as a baby. It is insane. This is why I like Hudson Hawk so much, because it's the Bruno character. It's the David Addison character. It's the Bruce Willis being like flirty, funny, comedic, asshole-ish kind of that kind of a character that I particularly like when he does that. And he doesn't do it a lot, especially after he got gone way too serious on like the Die Hard stuff. Right. So now I went into Devil Wears Prada looking to hate it. Watched it with my wife, watched it on, I think it came on cable, like most of the stuff we watch. I expected to hate it. I actually liked the film quite a bit. And I like Hathaway in it. And I actually do like Meryl Streep in it because I kind of think she plays off to her strengths in this movie. But I would definitely go and watch Look Who's Talking. Feelings?
Oh, in complete agreement. Honestly, I think probably it was the most astounding thing because watching that film as a child really is not for kids. Look Who's Talking is really not a film for kids. But
no.
Given the baby, was something that you just, again, your dad would pick up from a Blockbuster and be like, "Here, watch a movie."
Yeah. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, lunch.
Yeah.
Love that joke.
Well, and that's the thing is because, like, I would like to actually see the movie without the Bruce Willis thing, just to see if it's just more of a drama.
It is. It plays
I
off
can
like
see
a
it
romantic
working,
drama. Yeah.
But it just wouldn't be the same movie. You're right. But at the same time, it almost makes me wonder if the baby gimmick was more like, look, we can trick kids into going to see a fucking romantic drama.
A romantic comedy?
Yeah.
Just watch us.
Maybe.
And not only that, we're going to get your husbands to show up too.
Yep.
Because people forgot how big of a movie that was in '89, considering how packed that year was, because there's so many other things that came out. But yeah.
And it still didn't revive the sort of career of John Travolta.
It did for half a minute. You have to remember, he made the mistake of making Look Who's Talking 2 and 3. That was the mistake.
Was it Look Who's Talking Now was the third one with the dogs talked then?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like,
that's what I'm saying. Is like, had he just been smart enough to say nope on the sequels and they not made any sequels, we wouldn't have had the Tarantino thing. If it wasn't for that fucking dog movie, I don't think it would have happened. Because Travolta's the comeback kid. I tell you what.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Bubba Hotep, which a movie that I've seen
this is
recently,
a tough one.
And Christine.
Shit. Why you got to do this to me? This is not even fair. Because both of these are cinematic masterpieces.
I've got mine locked and loaded. So Tom, go ahead.
Shit. This is not. I forfeit.
I'm gonna go first because I kind of know what
you guys gotta help me on this one. Yeah,
I saw Baba Hotep much later than everybody else because it wasn't really on my radar. For real, I liked it. I can do without it. I know. I'm not big into horror essentially, but the thing about Stephen King, a lot of his stuff when it's adapted becomes way better than the books. I'm sorry.
Sometimes, yeah.
I'm
absolutely.
gonna go with Christine.
Even though this is one of the more, yeah.
He didn't like this adaptation at all. Like most of the stuff.
Christine was kind of more of a short novelization. It wasn't
really... The problem you have here is John Carpenter is the trump card.
Yeah.
Right? That's the problem.
It's fucking Carpenter. That's the big thing.
Because Bubba Hotep would win it any other day of the week.
I know you're thinking that I'm going to go with Christine.
Oh,
You are wrong.
oh.
Well, I do like
interesting.
Christine. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. Again, I've told you the stories multiple times of how many novels of Stephen King. Like, oh, by the way, I got my mom for her birthday this year, first edition of The Stand.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice.
That a little expensive, but yeah.
Too bad
But
Stephen
no.
King's a jerk now. But
Yeah, well, I honestly think he
Why
should
is
start
he-
drinking and doing cocaine again because he was a lot more fun.
He was.
Surprise.
We're gonna
He
find out he
always
never
was.
wrote any of that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Maybe he just always was.
That's
So,
true.
Yeah, so you're going with Bubba Hotep.
Hotep. Yeah.
You
I
got to
am
pick.
so stuck.
I
And then
mean,
you guys.
Sanders says Christine.
Bubba Hotep is just so much fun, though.
It is.
Because
See, here's the problem. We have a million killer car movies. Bubba Hotep is so original. Even though it is a kind of a mummy movie, but it is still the way they made it. Like, you have a guy who thinks he's fucking Elvis, another guy who thinks he's JFK.
JFK. Because it's a black guy who thinks he's JFK.
And that's what makes it.
Yes, that's great.
And it's got Bruce Campbell and Ozzie Davis in it, and it's from the guy who made Phantasm.
Yep.
And it's like, what the hell? I mean, like, this movie shouldn't exist. It shouldn't work, but it does. It's so much fun. And Bruce Campbell's the one who sells it all.
Yeah.
But then you got Christine on the other side, which, like I said, they've done a million killer car movies, but they have not done a million killer car movies like this. And to be honest with you, the book is, this is one of those few, you guys are right. Like the book, the movie is 10 times better than the book.
The movie is way better. It's like
Yeah.
Stand By Me.
Yes. And
Stand By Me is way better movie than the book. I've read it's a very short novel.
It's also because
it's not as good as
Stand
the
By
movie.
Me is depressing as fuck as the book.
It's because
the movie's so much better. Yeah.
What Stephen King always does is he always does the same thing where he does this whole fucking dialogue dump for like 2 chapters where it's nothing happens. He does this now more than ever, Tom. Read any of his new stuff where it's like, okay, I can literally skip 2 chapters and I missed nothing.
But Christine, on the other hand, like the movie and being in the John Carpenter realm and all that business has become so iconic.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
because I do believe it was Carpenter who pulled him aside when Stephen King actually walked off set and he goes, "You don't know how to make a film." And he goes, "Well, I don't think you know how to write."
well, and the funny thing is look, like fucking Stephen King made Maximum Overdrive.
Yes,
right?
Which we have to talk about at some point in time.
Which is the most John Carpenter fucking movie he never made.
Well, and also Stephen King was high on coke the entire time. He nearly killed 5 different people during the film of that movie. Yeah,
but I mean, that movie is such a John Carpenter movie, right? Like, I mean, through and through. I mean,
a meteorite flies by and all of a sudden all the machines turn on people. It's totally Carpenter.
Throw in a rock soundtrack since I can't write my own music. Let's get AC/DC.
No, throw in it's a soundtrack just by AC/DC. That's it.
Well, that's what I mean. Since I can't write music and John can, who do I get? Oh, AC/DC.
AC/DC.
I think I've seen Maximum Overdrive once when I was a kid, and I was horrified.
It's one of those movies that is so bad it's good.
It's so fun.
It is. It's such a cheesy. You got to get drunk or fucked up with your friends and see it. But okay, like, and we've hit that point now. We actually get to do what you've actually the setup that you boys set up for this when we can't decide which is which. And the problem is both of these are get drunk with your friends on a Saturday night and pizza type movies.
Yep.
That's the problem. And they're so there's so much alike, but they're not alike. You know what I'm saying? Like they fit in the same genre. The Mighty Ducks guy.
It was Emilio Estevez.
Boba Fett.
Emilio Estevez, you mean?
That's a joke. It's a joke.
I know. It's Boba Fett. All right. Choose Christine or choose not to Christine. It doesn't really matter because it's Christine.
We're seeing both of them. We're going to make it a double feature with friends and beer and pizza.
Exactly.
That's what we're gonna do.
See, this is, I've told All My Feelings this, maybe on the show, maybe not. I had a really good friend during high school. I was in one high school. He was in another. We kind of got connected through a mutual friend. We ended up being really best friends all throughout high school. So junior, sophomore, junior, senior. And I was 1 year above him. We did tons of movies. This was like 95 to 97. And you know what movies came out that year? Like, we did a lot, plus going into the remakes of the Star Wars stuff. We used to go 10 p.m. showing, finish that, going into the midnight show, which was actually midnight, so midnight and a quarter, or midnight, like 12:30, something like that, because they knew some movies started at 10 and they wanted to get the crowd because it's different theaters. We went into one movie in one theater, went down the street. There was another showing, midnight showing of a different movie. And that's how we kind of spend every couple of weeks and just watch tons of movies like that. So Christine and Bubba Hotep, with one of them being a midnight showing, is chef's kiss. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, we spent.
Let's round up. Let's round up the entire movie, because Alpha Betas don't accept the fact that they're not in charge anymore. They go into the nerd's house. They completely trash the house.
And just to be sure, again, Tom, I'm not just against the nerds. No, the jocks also multiple felonies. Multiple.
True. I know, but I still am not convinced you're not a self-hating nerd. You're like Lewis.
I'm an anti-nerd.
You self-hating nerd. You need to see Nerds 3. You'll get a kick out of it.
I have seen it. It's fun.
Oh, you have? Okay. I thought one of you said you hadn't seen it. At least.
I didn't watch it.
Okay, so all right.
And this is where we get the role reversal, because up until this point, Lewis was like, let's fight this, let's do this. And Lewis is the one that gives up, and Gilbert is the one that's like, I'm not going to take this. I'm just going to go to the dean or to the Alpha Betas and just confront them physically. And they can't ignore me.
You could hurt me.
Yeah.
So what? So what?
Wait, hold.
And it really feels like they didn't necessarily have an ending to this movie.
Not really.
No.
But it just happens to pull itself together in this great speech. And because you have this character in John Goodman who tries to shut him up, and you know, it just, and then finally the dean also stands up for himself for the first time. And it's just it all seems to work brilliantly and kind of wrap it all up in this bow.
And have the Lambdas show up for their own fraternity brothers.
The brothers, the brothers show up and it's like, okay, don't mess with us. This entire speech has been completely ad-libbed by Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure
he did not know what he was going to say. He just had an outline of what Jeff Kanew wanted him to say, and he just hit the dots. That's it. And the rest of it is all Anthony Edwards. And the We Are the Champions was way down the line. They didn't even have We Are the Champions at this point. And in fact, they didn't even sing We Are the Champions at that point. And that's how the movie ends, basically. It's kind of a weird ending.
Yeah, because again, they play what? Up to the first chorus of We Are the Champions, and then it goes into their own a cappella version of it, which was like total whiplash. And then it just cuts to, again, just credit sequence, like of 80s style credit sequences.
It makes me feel like there probably was a dozen other little endings to
there had
tie everything up, but they're like, we just need to Rocky end this thing.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, it's because even Stallone knew when to cut the movie. He's like, even though there's a whole nother scene and this other shit afterwards, they're just like, nope, this is where we're going to end it right here.
We got it.
This is the moment. He's like, that freeze frame is it. That's it.
I want to get to never mind. I didn't want to discuss the scene itself. I just wanted to discuss the font, which is like
computer font.
Computer font of the day.
Of the 80s, yeah.
Of the 80s. It's, it's a relic from the past. I think they also used it in War Games, but I haven't seen War Games in such a long time.
They did.
They did, right?
It was the generic. In fact, I think that font was called Computer, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because I do believe they used it in Weird Science as well, which is
might be Weird
movie
Science.
from the. And that's the thing is, all these movies from the 80s, like Weird Science, this movie, to an extent, Animal House, and some other ones.
Even in Short Circuit,
Short
that's
Circuit,
the only one where they didn't use it. I went back and see.
And then, but all those movies we just mentioned, though, they kind of helped make nerds cool. And then, like I said, that's kind of where we've gotten to this point now, where it's not so much that I wouldn't want to see a Nerds the Next Generation or a remake, but it's like nerds just aren't the same anymore.
Yeah, like how could they be ostracized without it being, first and foremost, it would be a giant fucking problem given the social climate. Because there'd be like they get persecuted. Well, whoever did that got expelled, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, there's no bullying allowed. Yeah.
Most of the movie would take place on X.
Probably
kind of like it'd just be a bunch of fucking social media posts.
It would just be like that are on the YouTube comment section, or like they harassed me on my Twitch stream.
Exactly. Like you couldn't do it now. And I mean, there's a million and one reasons, but like when we talk about movies that couldn't be done today, this is definitely at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but it's true.
And I want to say this is not something to do with the actual movie. Essentially, is YouTube does not like any discussion about this particular movie.
Why?
At all.
Disney has kind of erased it from. I mean, it isn't completely erased. Like Fox must have mass produced enough discs that you can get your hands on the movie pretty easily.
Oh,
but it is like on no streaming services. HBO, I think, is the only one that has any license for it still.
Which is funny, Tom, because they have all of the sequels are available for streaming, but you can't find the original.
The sequels are tamer. See, that's the thing. The sequels actually kind of even address probably some of the more problematic elements of the first film, even. But like,
all I'm saying is, Revenge of the Nerds is one of the first reviews I've written or done on this channel, and it did about 16 views. Wow. I pulled it because it was a bad video and retouched it, re-uploaded it, 60 views. Now, I'm not saying that I expect tens of millions, but I just had a look and see about other channels. Let's say Minty's channel. He does not reviews, but he does like behind the scenes stuff. And I don't know where he gets his information. Hopefully it's all like legit. But he does it in a very fun and funny way. Even if you compare his Revenge of the Nerds video to any other video he does, it's much lower in views than anything else. So are a lot of other people who do stuff which they don't explore the bad stuff. They just talk about the movie and how significant it was, and all pulling it up rather than pushing it down. YouTube does not like this fucking movie for some reason. Maybe it's because of the Moon Room. I have no idea. I can't put my finger on it. Maybe
there's
because
a few reasons. I do think that Disney is actively trying to suppress the movie.
Yeah.
The main reason is the ones you just mentioned, but the other reason is Lamar. He is a problematic character to them. And because he has so many stereotypical elements to him.
I could see that.
And again, he's not that bad, but I can see how they can see him as that bad. And there's just certain other elements to the film that are just along those lines that it's considered, and because of all the reasons why we said this movie can't be made, besides just nerds are cool now, is the main reason. Because even though it's not mean, it is problematic. I hate using the fucking term.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of like I'm watching fucking Crocodile Dundee now. Like, I just watched it here again because they just re-put it up in 4K. Now, we all knew they're cutting it for the Australian re-release. And I can see all the shit they're going to cut out. I haven't even seen that version yet, and I can tell. and it's not just going to be the trans scene or the cross-dressing scene either. Right? There's a few other lines that I guarantee you are going to get chucked to the side, like especially any time that Mick mentions black fellas. I guarantee is going to get trim.
Yeah. It's a problem because the thing about it is people have to face the facts that some of these movies were done for the times. And yeah, it was a little bit more accepted back in the day because it's just a movie. It's not real life. And you're supposed to have some sort of artistic freedom when you do a piece of art. But, well,
there's
trying
that
to
aspect.
Explain that to people is...
But deleting it to me makes it worse because it's almost like you're pretending it wasn't there. It's like, no. This is proof that we have progressed.
Yeah,
right? Like,
sure.
It's like, why are you trying to delete that proof? And not only that, I see movies all the time where it's like, there's a gay person, there's a gay character, there's a black character that shouldn't be in a normal situation like this, but they're there. This is a very diverse cast for the time. It's like, I notice that shit now more than anything because of this stupid bullshit they keep shoving down our throats with this stuff.
I think it's actually more problematic with the way that it is now than it is with Lamar, because with Lamar, they didn't treat him differently in any way, shape, or form. No. They didn't point out the fact that he's black. They didn't point out the fact that he's gay. He was just one of the nerds.
But what was the joke that Mephisto said?
It's like
that joke alone being what it is, because it is the whole joke is around him being quote unquote limp wristed in what is one of the worst things you could say about a gay man now.
That's the whole point, that they've modified the javelin to make it work with his strengths. And when he moved,
they literally said
is,
they literally said
literally say his limp wrist
with his limp wrist. Yeah, like no, that was supposed to be they made that point outrageously clear. Like, yeah, it's a stereotype, but yeah, that's a stereotype.
It's a joke because the nerds have turned what it was a stereotype into something they can use as a strength. Exactly.
Exactly. All right.
But they don't see it that way, unfortunately. And
Anyway, we're treading water yet again. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Tom, for joining us today. I know you're very busy and all that stuff.
Yeah, sadly, a lot of real life shit has encroached on me today that I did not anticipate. So
yeah, I've read the private chat.
I'm sorry to hear that, buddy.
Yeah. We feel you. We do feel you. So, but do thank you for watching. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to Tom, Midnight's Edge After Dark, Mead Radio Live on Rumble and all that good stuff, and go subscribe, pay your homage, pay your money, pay your coin, all that good stuff. Go over there and have a ball. Next week, if God willing, if there's still a country over here, we will probably cover Old School from 2003.
We're going streaking.
Going streaking. And we may or may not have the Shagworth coming back. And because he did say he'll join us. He did say he'll join us, but he had a lot of IRL stuff going. Positive IRL stuff. Good. But it actually, he's actually moving. He's actually moving back to Hawaii.
Oh, nice. I haven't talked to Shags
all that good, all the big changes. Let's just say that.
And I'll have more stories about when I was in college. Yay!
Hey! So go watch Old School. Come back to us next week, and we'll talk about it. And maybe we're gonna go streaking if YouTube allows it
through the gymnasium.
Anyway, exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, guys. Oh, and we are sending you to Gary from Pop Culture Minefield. They're covering The Goonies. And remember, guys, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. We'll see you next week. You're still here? It's over. Go home.